What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Bokmans vlog. I know it's been quite some time since I've made one of these videos, and I'll get into the reasons why, but just wanted to welcome everyone back. For those that don't know me, my name is David Bokman. I'm the owner of Bokman Investment Group, also Philly Home Investor, Philly Off Market Deals, and Philly Land Investor. I've been investing in real estate for the last 8 years, mainly doing wholesaling, residential, commercial, multifamily, and vacant land. So sort of all the above. Anything that is a real estate asset is something that I have wholesaled in the past and in the present. And I want to thank you for tuning in today for this episode of, how should we call this? Maybe 7 mistakes that I've made during my 8 years of wholesaling. And the reason why I do these videos is to provide some type of value. I know that I'm a big believer in karma, and what you put out into the world is what you get back. So with social media and the internet, the best way to provide value is to do videos like this and content like this, so that hopefully maybe somebody will walk away with a little piece of information that will help them in their career. And so I mentioned that I haven't done a video in quite some time. Really 2 reasons why. First reason, mainly just taking a break from social media and content creation. I do not have like some big team. As you can see, I'm in my living room. I have a pair of earphones on, so these are kind of raw and uncut. And I just didn't really have the time to put into this, but it is something that's important to me and that I will continue to do throughout the year as much as I possibly can. So my main goal is to provide value. Second reason why I haven't done a video in a while is we gave birth to our second child. I have a beautiful, healthy baby boy. I couldn't be more thankful for that. And so I wanted to take the time with my family and make sure that everyone is getting the time that they need. So let's get into it. So over the last 8 years of wholesaling, I've done really well for myself, but I've also made a lot of mistakes throughout the whole entire career path. And as I look back at it now, there's definitely some mistakes that could have been avoided. Obviously, some things you just don't know until you do it, right? But I figured I would share some of the mistakes that I've made over the years, and hopefully you will get something out of this video. So let's just jump right into it. So these are in no particular order. I did my best to try to make it in somewhat of an order. I have things written down, so if you see me looking down, I'm just looking at some of my notes, but let's get right into it. Mistake number 1. And before I get into mistake number 1, quick little disclaimer. I say mistakes. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a mistake for everybody, right? This is just something for you to think about. I'm talking about my experience and the things that happened in my business. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen to you in your business, but once again, let's get into it. So mistake number 1, don't hire friends. And I guess you can possibly say don't hire friends or family, right? But that was one of the mistakes that I made looking back on my career. It wasn't a mistake to hire somebody because I definitely needed help, and I wouldn't have been able to grow as fast as I did if I didn't get somebody on board. But I'm the type of person that, I'm a little bit of a nice guy. I wouldn't say a pushover because that's not me. And over the years, I've gotten a little bit more, cutthroat, as they say. But I am a nice guy, and I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And so one of the first hires that I made was a friend of mine. And I believe that everybody should be paid what they're worth. And if anything, I actually overpay people. So that's what I did in this situation. The person was definitely an asset and definitely helped me grow my business. So I'm not taking that away from them. But I definitely left a lot of money on the table. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the table. And I paid him a lot. I also didn't stay on top of him the way I would if it was a regular employee. Like checking in with him, going over everything. I kind of just let him do whatever he wanted to do. And during that time period, we were doing a lot of business, and so I could get away with it. But once again, if it was a regular employee, I probably would have been on top of them a little bit more. I probably would have been doing sales training. I probably would have been doing more like value building, things like that. But I didn't. I really let him do as he pleased. And so as I look back at it now, that was a mistake. And I see a lot of people getting in business with their friends and family, and a lot of times that's going to create a lot of turmoil within the relationship. So I would say be careful with hiring friends and family. Sometimes the best stories you see are the friends and the family members that got together, and that's always a great fit sometimes. But once again, I'm just giving you my experience with the person that I hired. He was great. I don't regret anything, but I did leave a shit ton of money on the table. That leads me to mistake number 2, hiring too fast. In this particular case, the friend that I hired was kind of pushing me to hire somebody else on our team. And I had a lot of concerns about that. And in my gut was telling me that I don't need to hire that third person. We can do things with the two of us. But he really kind of pushed me and influenced me to, and during that time, a lot of gurus and a lot of real estate guys were saying you got to grow your team. And a lot of gurus still do that now to this day. And that may be applicable to your business, but not for all. And so for me in my business, hiring that third person, once again, took a lot of money off the table for me, because now I had to pay commission to my friend who was working for me, who was quote unquote like a sales manager, and then the new acquisition person that we brought on board. Fast forward to now, the friend that I hired is no longer with me. He left around the COVID time period. A lot of businesses changed at that point. But the other person that I hired is still with me. So from that standpoint, it's great. But I guess what I'm trying to say is don't hire too fast, right? Because that's going to take a lot of profits away from you. You may not have the systems and processes in place for that person. A lot of people that I know that run wholesaling companies have never run a business before. They don't know really how to hire and train and support salespeople, and so they wonder why it doesn't work out. So this is just a kind of, listen to your gut. You don't always need to follow everyone else and hire these big teams and have this overhead, which is sort of the path that I was going down during that time. So that was mistake number 2, hiring too fast and being influenced by internal and external factors. Mistake number 3, KPIs, tracking KPIs. I'm sure you've heard this before. Cost per click, cost per lead, all that stuff. So I did a great job of tracking everything. Here's the caveat to that. In my business, as I look back over the last 8 years, on average, we do about 50 to 60 deals per year. 50 to 60% of those deals actually come through our network, meaning like referral sources, agents, brokers, other wholesalers, developers that I've made relationships with. That's basically free money. Those are free leads. And unfortunately, I wasn't really tracking that and equating that to all the other stuff that we were doing. So at one point, I went from spending $5,000 a month to 10 to 15 to 20 to $25,000 a month in marketing when I really didn't need to, because majority of our business was coming from internal, external revenue referral sources. And so instead of leaning in and really going after those, I just started to spend blindly on things like SEO and PPC and direct mail campaigns, and I was just going gangbusters. And I could, because we were generating a lot of revenue each month. But the problem with that is that I wasn't taking into account the large deals that I was doing from my referral sources. So my KPIs were not accurate at all, right? So that was mistake number 3. Mistake number 4, don't take your pedal off the gas. What I mean by that is, right around the time of the whole COVID pandemic, I sort of lost focus and lost sight of my business. And this happens to a lot of people that I speak to. After about 3, 4, 5 years of wholesaling, a lot of guys get burnt out in this business because it's very transactional, right? It's constant deals in, deals out. We were also doing flips and we were buying rental properties as well. But I would say I was kind of burnt out a little bit. And right around that time, I had a good friend of mine who was making a transition into being a stock trader. Everybody got into stock trading during COVID, the retailers, right? And that's exactly what I did. You can put me in that category. The good thing about it was I actually enjoyed it. I learned something totally new. I learned how to read charts and how to trade, options and bonds and things like that. And I still do it to this day. But during that time, I was more focused on trading stocks than I was on my real estate business. And if I'm being honest, my real estate business definitely suffered during that time. So if you're a small business owner, whether you're wholesaling or not, think about this for a minute. Never take your foot off the gas. And that's really the difference between people who make it through hard times and people who don't. The people who just put their foot on the gas and keep barreling through will continue to succeed, while the person, such as myself, in that specific time period of time, I let my foot off the gas. I assumed the business was just going to keep, rolling the way it was, and I got into something else thinking that that's what I was going to do also. And reality, that it didn't work out that way. I did make some money. It was a great experience. I loved learning it. It gave me something to do during that time, so it kept my brain like functioning, which I think is super important. Always be learning, always be evolving. But it didn't really help my business at that time. Mistake number 5. I was never the person that was listening to gurus. But also going back to that COVID period of time, there was a lot of people that were saying this is a good opportunity to double down. And you only know what you don't know. That is what I did. I had that mindset that a lot of people were backing off from marketing. A lot of people were not doing deals. I was going to be the guy that was going to put my foot back on the gas and outspend everyone in marketing, without realizing that the real estate market itself was changing during that time. So don't listen to the gurus. Do not overspend on what you actually can spend, right? And that kind of goes back to listen to your gut. Don't let external factors influence your decision making when it comes to marketing and how much money to spend. Mistake number 6. I didn't keep enough for myself. And I didn't actually realize this until now. So 8 years later, wholesaling, I'm now looking back and saying to myself, damn, out of those 100 properties, I should have just kept a handful for myself for rental properties. And even though I have a small portfolio now, it could have been double, triple the size, and I would have a great cash flow of properties currently. But that's not where my mindset was during those years of wholesaling. It was all about the quick cash. This is easy. I don't need to deal with anything. Lock up a property for 30 days, sell it. I was also doing commercial deals where some of the spreads were, 6 figures or close to 6 figures. So I was making a lot of money. And instead of reinvesting some of that into rental properties, I didn't. I used a lot of that for marketing and personal things. And looking back at it now, I feel as if that was definitely one of the biggest mistakes that I made. So if you're wholesaling, I strongly urge you to really think about some other strategies other than just wholesaling. I don't really recommend fix and flips. I've had some 50-50 success with that, and obviously it's market dependent. Most of our deals have been in the Philadelphia tri-state area, so Philadelphia, Jersey, Delaware. I'm also in the Florida market, which is where I currently live. That's why I got this beautiful orange shirt on, Philly Home Investor. But if you're listening to this video and you're wholesaling real estate or thinking about wholesaling real estate, one of the things that you absolutely should be doing is building a rental portfolio for future generational wealth. That's all I'll say about that, right? And last but not least, mistake number 7, I didn't have a mentor. With all the gurus out there and all the mentorship programs and mastermind programs, this and that, I really stayed away from it because my mindset at the time was, you know, I can do this better than everyone else. And I did for quite some time. But then I hit a lot of roadblocks, and I found that I didn't really have a mentor or somebody that I could go to that could help me through some of these issues. And as I look back at it now, you know, I don't know if it was my ego or my unwillingness to pay for information, but as I look back at it now, not having a mentor, someone that could, you know, steer my ship in the right direction was definitely a big mistake on my part. I definitely should have reached out, whether it was to somebody that I knew or even pay to play, and got somebody that I could have went to during some of the difficult times that could help me. I think that's very common with a lot of business owners, especially men. Men in general are sort of like lone wolves, right? We're afraid to ask for help. But that was definitely, looking back at it, that was something that I should have done and not let my ego get the best of me. I should have asked for help. I should have sought help. I should have figured out ways to evolve and expand into different things. So I'm sure if I think about it long enough, I'm sure there's many, many, many other mistakes that I've made down the road. But these were just kind of the top 7 mistakes that I came up with that I thought would really help anyone that's listening to this video. So with that being said, I thank you so much for joining in. I will continue to create more content. It may not be regular. It may just be once a month, maybe once every other week. We'll see, as much as I can. But I am committed to doing that. And I know I've said that in other videos, but yet here I am, I'm still making them. And I will continue to make them because, once again, I believe that in today's modern era, the best way to provide value is to share things that have worked for you and things that have not worked for you. And so this is my attempt to get back into that space because I know that this will benefit somebody. So I appreciate you tuning in. With that being said, I do provide mentoring, different kinds of mentoring. So I have 2 different programs. I do have a real estate program where I do mentor people, mainly just in wholesaling. It's focused on really for newbies and maybe someone who's been doing it for a year or 2. What I can help with is basically helping with systems and processes, potentially scripts, what applications to use for what, and overall business creation, because that is something that I did really well for myself. The other kind of mentoring that I do is strictly for other men. And this is an area where I did find a mentor. But when I say men, is men's coaching, right? How to be a better man, how to be a better father, how to be a better leader. I know that in this society, men have been programmed a certain way. And with the divorce rate being where it is today, you know, obviously we have a huge problem, right? And everything going on in the world, from the political space to all the crazy stuff that's going on, what the world really needs is strong, committed men who are not only leading their families, but leading their local communities and leading themselves to greatness. And so I do have those 2 different programs. If you're interested, you can click the link in the bio. But besides that, I just want to say thank you. I hope you get something from this. And I will be putting out another video soon. So thank you for tuning in. God bless.